Hello everyone! Last week I picked up Hearthstone again, since they released a whole new adventure and all, Knights of the Frozen Throne, which actually had a lot of humor in it and was a lot of fun to play through. A couple of you asked if I could dive into the story of Icecrown Citadel, which, since you probably read the title, we are going to do today. Some of this has already been covered during the story of the Lich King, but there are some nice links here and there with the Hearthstone adventure, so let's get this intro out of the way and dive into the story.
Power alone is not to be feared. Fear instead those who wield it.
This story begins with the orc Ner'zhul and Kil'jaeden. Kil'jaeden wasn't too pleased with the orc, who had actively worked against him and his plans with the Horde, so he tortured him for a while. He tore his soul apart, until he came up with a brand new plan. They would have to get a whole new army, one that wouldn't fall prey to the same petty rivalries and infighting that had plagued the Horde. It would have to be merciless and single-minded in its mission, weaken Azeroth and get it ready for another invasion from the Burning Legion. Holding Ner'zhul's tortured, helpless spirit in stasis, Kil'jaeden gave him one last chance to either serve the Legion or suffer eternal torment. That's not much of a choice, as you might imagine, so Ner'zhul, he agreed to the Demon's Pact, and his spirit was placed within a specially crafted block of diamond hard ice, gathered from the far reaches of the Twisting Nether. Encased within, Ner'zhul felt his consciousness expand 10,000-fold. Warped by the demon's chaotic powers, Ner'zhul became a spectral being of unfathomable power. At that moment, the orc known as Ner'zhul was shattered forever and the Lich King was born. His mission was to spread a plague of death and terror across Azeroth that would snuff out human civilization forever. All those who died from the dreaded plague, they would arise as undead, and their spirits would be bound to Ner'zhul's iron will forever. Now, to keep an eye on his creation, Kil'jaeden called upon his elite demon guard, the Dreadlords, to police Ner'zhul and ensure that he accomplished his task. Tychondrius, the most powerful and cunning of the Dreadlords, he warmed to the challenge, fascinated by the plague's severity and the Lich King's unbridled potential for genocide. With their plans ready to go, Kil'jaeden cast Ner'zhul's icy cask back into the world of Azeroth. The hardened crystal, it streaked across the night sky and smashed into the desolate Arctic continent of Northrend, burying itself in the deep shadowed halls of the Icecrown Glacier. The frozen crystal, warped and scarred by its violent descent, it came to resemble a throne of sorts, and Ner'zhul's vengeful spirit stirred within it. He used his powers to take over some of the creatures of the land, like the ice trolls and the Wendigo, while also sending the plague into a human settlement, which quickly turned its inhabitants into mindless zombies, bent to the will of the Lich King. Their thoughts were connected to his own, feeding him more power, and for 10 long years, Ner'zhul built up his power base in Northrend. This brings us to the topic of today, Icecrown Citadel, which was erected above Icecrown and manned by the growing legions of the undead. Yet, as the Lich King extended his influence over the land, a lone, shadowy empire stood against his power, the Ner'zhulians, who were immune to the plague and had vast underground tunnels for hit-and-run tactics. Despite those advantages, in the end, the Lich King did win their war with the aid of the Dreadlords and his innumerable undead warriors. They invaded Azul Nerub, brought the temple crashing down, and even resurrected the fallen spiders to serve in their army, including their king Anubarak. As a testament to their tenacity and fearlessness, Ner'zhul then adopted the Nerubians' distinctive architectural style for his own fortresses and structures. Left to rule his kingdom unopposed, the Lich King then began preparing for his true mission in the world. Reaching out into the human lands with his vast consciousness, the Lich King called out to any dark soul that would listen. So that's how Icecrown Citadel came to be, and as most of you know, the Whispers of Ner'zhul, they would eventually lead to Prince Arthas Menethil, merging with him, since the spirit of the orc, he did not want to work for the Legion, and he saw the prince as a ticket to setting himself free from their control. Arthas in turn had no intention of becoming the puppet of Ner'zhul, nor did he have any love left for the light, for the life that he had destroyed. As he sat atop Icecrown for a while, he thought about the road of damnation which had led him here, and in the end decided that there would be no we. There would be no one that would tell him what to do. He had everything he needed from Ner'zhul. Now the power was his and his alone. Now there is only I. I am the Lich King, and I am ready. Arthas, the Lich King, alone in his glory and power, slowly opened his eyes. Ice cracked from them at the gesture and fell in small shards like frozen tears. A smile formed beneath the ornate helm that covered his white hair and pale skin, and more ice fell from his awakening, slowly shifting form, fragments of an icy chrysalis that was no longer needed. He was awake. Arthas the Lich King then started this war with the world, and heroes rose up to fight against him. Even some of his own Death Knights, the Knights of the Everblade, they turned against their former master, and Tyrion Fordring, he obtained the holy blade called the Ashbringer. We ventured forth into the cold lands of Northrend, where the Alliance and Horde were able to secure some victories here and there, but at the Wrathgate, designed to look like the Helm of Domination and an entrance into the Citadel, things didn't turn out so great.
Silence! Forward! Take the lead! For the Order! For the Alliance! Back, you mindless wretches! Fight on, brothers!
Rise up, sons of the Horde! Blood and glory await us! Luntargar! For the Horde!
I was wondering if you'd show up.
I couldn't let the Alliance have all the fun today. Nyah!
Arthas! The blood of your father, of your people, demands justice! Come forth, coward, and answer for your crimes!
You speak of justice, of cowardice. I will show you the justice of the grave and the true meaning of fear.
Enough talk! Let it be finished!
You will pay for all the lives you've stolen, traitor!
Boldly stated, but there is nothing you can... What?
Did you think we had forgotten? Did you think we had forgiven? Behold now the terrible vengeance of the Forsaken!
Sylvanas.
Death to the Scourge! And death to the living!
Isn't over.
Now, all can see. This is the hour of the Forsaken.
Ron, Apothecary Putris, together with the Dreadlord Varimathras, they betrayed the Horde and Sylvanas, using the plague that was developed in order to bench the Queen to not only strike out at the Lich King and his Scourge, but also our very own forces. Dranosh Sourfang, son of Varrock Sourfang, he struck down and his soul is taken by Frostmourne, while Bolvar Fordragon, he seemingly lost his life to the plague, but his tale isn't over quite yet. Assault in the Wrathgate, assault in the Citadel from this side, that didn't work out so well, so we'll have to try a different approach. Tyrion and his Argent Crusade, they hold a little tournament to see who is truly worthy to join an assault upon the Citadel, and after surviving a surprise attack from Arthas and Anubarak, we're finally ready to venture forth into the Citadel itself.
Rise up, Argent Crusaders! The hour of justice has come!
Can you feel it, my son? Closing in all around you. The light. Its justice has been awakened. The sins of the past have finally caught up to you. You will be called to account for all the atrocities you've committed. The unspeakable horrors you've let loose upon this world. And the dark, ancient powers you've enslaved. My soul was one of the first to be devoured by your evil. There are thousands more bound within this blade, and they cry out for release. Look now to your defenses, my son, for the champions of justice gather at your gates.
With the Lich King's attention drawn to the front door, a small team worked on infiltrating the frozen halls, led by either Jaina Proudmoore if you play on the Alliance, or Sylvanas Windrunner for the Horde. We're going in to look for a clue to Arthas' weaknesses, or as Jaina states it, maybe, just maybe his redemption. Our journey takes us through the Forge of Souls into the Pit of Sauron, where we can see captured Alliance and Horde forces, as well as the Scourge. They're hard at work at mining Serenite, and Serenite is the blood of the old god Yogg-Saron. This metal, this blood, it's been used to fuel their war effort and even construct the Citadel. Here we find out that the Lich King leaves his mighty blade Frostmourne all by itself within the Halls of Reflection. Now if we can separate him from the blade, we might actually have a chance at stopping him, but that's easier said than done. Arthas doesn't like us messing around with his weapon, which leads into a direct confrontation with, again, either Sylvanas or Jaina, similar to how Jaina tried to fight a beloved prince within Hearthstone. Here, she also wasn't powerful enough to stop him, but instead of being turned into a Death Knight, she places him in a block of ice and then we run for our very lives. It is clear, we cannot face the Lich King all on our own. He is simply too powerful, so we'll have to enter Icecrown Citadel, deal with the most powerful creatures in the Scourge arsenal, and make our way to the top for our final confrontation. Once inside, we discover what happened to Bolvar.
He has resisted for so long, but he will bow down before his king soon.
Never! I will never serve you! Could it be, Lord Fordring? If Bolvar lives, mayhap there is hope for peace between the Alliance and the Horde. We must reach the top of this cursed place and free the Paladin!
Bolvar survived the events of the Wrathgate and is now being tortured by the Lich King. A vision that was also shown inside of Yogg-Saron, so perhaps the Old One, he has some sort of connection with these events. Perhaps his blood has been able to get some sort of influence on the Lich King. Either way, both the Alliance and Horde, they make it their mission to save the High Lord, to quell the unrest between the factions. First up, we have Lord Meadowgar, the guardian of the Frozen Throne within the Spire Chamber. Pieced together by the Lich King from the bones of 1,000 vanquished adventurers, Meadowgar wields the power of the throne itself. Without the destruction of this bony being, there is no hope of taking the Citadel. He has an ability called Bone Spike Graveyard, which will impale his enemies, while in Hearthstone it can do a whole ton of damage. His weapon is Brain Troll, also part of his loot table, and of course, he also has his famous Bone Storm attack.
Bone Storm!
The Lich, Lady Deathwhisper, she is the supreme overseer of the Cult of the Damned. Entering a room triggers her speech, in which she talks about how all of them found a way here because they are amongst those gifted with a true vision in a world cursed with blindness. She calls the meat on her bones a curse, a weakness, a crippling flaw as a joke played by the creators upon their very own creations. They see being turned into an undead as a great honor, but some speculate that she's talking about more. For those unaware, the old gods cursed some of the Titan creations with the curse of flesh, which made them weaker, sometimes literally gave them flesh, and it made them more vulnerable for corruption. Another speculated connection to the old gods and Yogg-Saron's influence. In World of Warcraft, the fight consisted of a whole bunch of ab management and dealing enough damage to deplete her mana bar, while in Hearthstone, they made the choice to combine her with another encounter inside Icecrown with Valeria Dreamwalker. This green dragon has been captured by the Scourge as she tried to help out another dragon in their army. She tried to help out Sindragosa. Their plan is to destroy and resurrect her as an agent of the Scourge, but were able to hold off their forces and restore her health. This gives her the strength to shatter her bonds, liberate herself, and then she simply disappeared into thin air. Thankfully in Hearthstone, she does stick around and helps with the fight if we heal her up or silence her. After Lady Deathwhisper comes the Icecrown gunship battle, which is a little bit strange story-wise, but it made for a pretty cool fight. Both the Horde and Alliance are assaulting the Citadel at the same time, and tensions between the two factions they're high, since both factions lost a whole bunch of people at the Wrathgate. Both sides want so desperately to reach the perfect vantage point, take down Arthas and save Bolvar the Brink Piece, that they decided to blow each other out of the sky just to get that glory. Not the best way to obtain peace if you ask me, but after the gunship battle, we meet another victim of the Wrathgate, Deathbringer Saurfang. His soul was taken at the Wrathgate and turned into a Death Knight. His power greatly increased like our heroes in Hearthstone, but his will is no longer his own. Varrock Saurfang, his father, he's well aware that his son died at the Wrathgate, and he has only come here to collect the body. Within Hearthstone, they've made the Death Knight immune to anything except for damage with your weapon, which thankfully is not the case in WoW. What is similar is that in both fights he will summon Blood Beast, but despite his incredible power, he is finally defeated. On the Horde side, his father simply collects the body, while the Alliance, they got a little bit more dialogue, respect was shown on both sides, and Saurfang is allowed to take his boy Dranosh home. Then Rot-faced Investigat, that don't really have a story, besides being created by Professor Putricide, who they see as their father, and they love their pets very much. Professor Putricide, he's perfected a plague which will eradicate all life on Azeroth, and he's probably responsible for most of the abominations and creations that we've seen throughout the Scourge army. The Blood Prince Council that consists of 3 Darkfallen princes, which we defeated before. Darkfallen are vampiric undead blood elves resurrected by Arthas after he defeated them during Warcraft 3. Prince Keleseth, he was the first boss of Utgard Keep and the Scourge Overlord of the Howling Fjords. Prince Valenar was the Scourge Overlord of the Borean Tundra, while Prince Taldaram, he was the second boss of Anka Het, where he was searching for lost Nerubian relics to empower the Scourge murderous ranks, and of course please the Lich King. With the Darkfallen orb empowering them, they tried to stop us, but they failed, and the next encounter was against their Blood Queen Lanafel. Not all of the Blood Elves that were turned into Darkfallen died while fighting together with the Prince Kil'jaeden. Some of them survived a little bit longer in Northrend, left behind by their prince, and one by one Arthas simply picked them off, converting them into his dark army. Lanafel was one of those survivors, and with the legendary blade Quel'Dalar, she tried to hold her ground, but the might of Frostmourne, it was simply too great. She lost her life, and Arthas decided to not only turn her, he also made her the Blood Queen of all the Darkfallen. After being converted, Lanafel eagerly carried out her new duties given to her by the Lich King, but the blade, it reminded her so much of her former life that she could not afford such distractions. With a scream that echoed throughout Icecrown, she shattered Quel'Dalar and flung the fractured pieces as far as she could. Heroes would later find the battered hilt and restore the legendary blade, while Lanafel found the demise within Icecrown. Next comes Valeria Dreamwalker, which we already talked about, and finally there's Sindragosa, a blue dragon in life. She was the prime consort of the blue dragon aspect Malygos himself. During the War of the Ancients, over 10,000 years ago, they were betrayed by Deathwing, who was listening to the whispers of the old gods and nearly wiped out the entire blue dragonflight, including Sindragosa. The blast of the spell hurled her all the way to the cold north. Blinded and near death, Sindragosa sought desperately to reach the Dragonblight, the place where dragons instinctively travel to die. No longer able to fly, Sindragosa plummeted to the cold earth in the region of Icecrown. She then gathered what remained of her energy and called out the Malygos for aid. Her only answer was the howling Arctic wind as she struggled on, but the distance was far too great. Agonizingly, she realized that the spirits would not find rest within the Dragonblight. Her life then continued to fade away as her sanity deteriorated. In the midst of her delirium, Sindragosa's final thoughts turned to bitterness and hatred. Hatred against the Legion, hatred against Deathwing, hatred even against Malygos. But most of all, hatred against the world of mortals, and in her dying moments, Sindragosa vowed revenge. Many years later, Arthas would show up with Frostmourne to resurrect the mighty blue blue, and she was forced to fight for him. The whole revenge bit that seemingly never made it into the storyline, and she seems more than happy that we took her out and liberated her from the Lich King's control, very similar to what happened with Anubarak. With the mightiest forces of the Scourge defeated, it was time to join Tyrion Fordring upon the top of Icecrown and finally face the Lich King himself. I'm not sure yet how this is going to go down within Hearthstone. The adventure with Jaina has him trying to reach her in time and failing, but in World of Warcraft there was just Tyrion and the heroes.
I'll keep you alive to witness the end, Fordring. I would not want the Light's greatest champion to miss seeing this wretched world remade in my image.
Placed within a block of ice, the heroes have to deal with the Lich King by themselves. There seems to be a glimmer of hope on the horizon, as his health is slowly going down, but then the Lich King unleashes the fury of Frostmourne, one-shotting all the heroes gathered.
No questions remain unanswered. No doubts linger. You are Azeroth's greatest champions. You overcame every challenge I laid before you. My mightiest servants have fallen before your relentless onslaught. Your unbridled fury.
Throughout the entire expansion, the Lich King has watched us, pitched us against the mightiest of foes, making sure that when the time was right, he would have the mightiest heroes that the world had to offer, ready to be converted into his ranks. He might have actually won that day, was it not for Tyrion and the Light's final blessing.
Light, grant me one final blessing. Give me the strength to shatter these bonds.
With one single strike, the Ashbringer shatters Frostmourne, and thousands of vengeful souls are released, holding the Lich King in the air. King Tyrannus, one of the first to fall to the blade, he resurrects the fallen heroes, and together they end the nightmare. Together, they defeat the Lich King. But there must always be a Lich King, and Bolvar Fordragon steps up to the plate, and he becomes the jailer of the damned.
Bolvar! By all that is holy.
The dragon's flame. Seal my fate. The world of the living can no longer comfort me. Place the crown upon my head, Tyrion. Forevermore, I will be the jailer of the damned.
No, old friend. I cannot.
Do it, Tyrion! You and these brave heroes have your own destinies to fulfill. This last act of service is mine.
You will not be forgotten, brother.
I must be forgotten, Tyrion. If the world is to live free from the tyranny of fear, they must never know what was done here today. Tell them only that the Lich King is dead, and that Bolvar Fordragon died with him. Now, go. Leave this place and never return.
After the fall of Arthas the Lich King, Sylvanas Windrunner made her way to the top of Icecrown, where she discovered what had happened. A new Lich King was sitting on the throne, but her mission of getting revenge upon the one who destroyed her kingdom and placed the undead curse upon her, that mission was over. She was done, and decided to end it all, to throw herself from the top of Icecrown upon the Serenite spikes down below. Waiting for her was not eternal peace, but a whole realm of torment. She might have been lost to the torment, was it not for the Valkyr, who made a bargain with the Banshee Queen. They would take her place in hell, and even grant her the power to raise more undead, and in exchange, they would be free from Bolvar's control. Now there is some room for speculation here, since let's not forget that Serenite is the blood of Yogg-Saron, so that being might have been messing with her, might have been showing something that was not true at all, as well as the Valkyr, whose motives for helping her are not fully explained. Those are mysteries for the future. For now, all we know is that Sylvanas accepted their deal and has been working very hard on avoiding that eternal torment. The spirits whispered a name when Vol'jin needed to appoint a new war chief, so who knows where that story might go. Now, despite his wishes, Bolvar could not be forgotten by the world, and heroes would actually venture forth into Icecrown again. Mages went in to claim Felamalorn, a powerful weapon which once belonged to Kil'jaeden's Sunstrider, but was lost in the frigid waste of Northrend. Liandra's Sunstrider, a distant relative of the family, she became obsessed with finding the blades, but Bolvar doesn't take too kindly to people entering his domain.
I sense an intruder who has come in search of plunder. You underestimate the dangers of Icecrown, foolish mage. If you are as powerful as you believe, then perhaps you may prove more worthy of the sword than the last mage who came to claim it.
Thankfully, the mages were more successful in their mission as they brought Liandra down and they claimed the blade to use it in a war against the Legion. Death Knights, despite stepping away from the Lich King in the past, they found themselves in need of his aid again in this war against the Legion. He has offered his allegiance to the Knights of the Ebon Blade, where in return for our assistance, he will keep the Scourge confined to Northrend and offer aid in obtaining powerful weapons, powerful enough to end the Legion once and for all. Ekrus and the Ebon Blade, they move next to Icecrown itself, and we're asked to decide what weapon we want to go for and to obtain it. Now, it's the shards of Frostmourne that takes us into the Citadel itself, but obtaining them is quite a challenge.
Many of the souls, freed by Frostmourne's destruction, wander the halls of Icecrown, lashing out in eternal torment. Destroy them, and gather the fragments of the blade, for they will be the heart of your new weapon.
Despite the souls lashing out, Death Knights are able to reclaim the shards and forge brand new blades out of them, the Blades of the Fallen Prince. They claim dominance over the weapons, they go inside the spiritual realm, where powerful spirits still remain, namely that of Arthas and Ner'zhul. Kinda interesting and a little bit confusing, considering that they first said that Arthas got rid of Ner'zhul, but perhaps that was not entirely true. Perhaps all those that put on the Helm of Domination, they leave a part of their power, their essence behind, but either way, we put these spirits down and we claim dominance over the weapons. That is where the story of Icecrown Citadel ends for this very moment, but who knows what the future might bring. Bolvar, he's still chilling up there, he's keeping the Scourge in check for now and working with the Death Knights, but that's just for the moment. The Legion is no friend of the Lich King, so what will happen when they're taken care of? Is there more story to tell with Sylvanas and a Valkyr? Did the old god Yogg-Saron and his blood, the blood used to build up the Citadel, which impaled her when she jumped off the top of Icecrown, did that play any part in her choices and the road that she's on? Only time will tell, but for now, I think I've been going on for long enough. It's time to play some more Hearthstone. So as always, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, guys, see ya!